in respect to that. I mentioned all these food products just before. Food indeed determines the quality of your functioning. If you eat heavy food, like fried foods or tamasic foods, you will become tamasic as a result. There are many ideas, many reasons to become a vegetarian. Maybe you love animals, or for the sake of, because you think it's healthier for the body not to eat meats and so on. In yoga, the main reason for being a vegetarian is to practice non-violence. Because eating meat makes you an accomplice in killing of animals. So vegetarianism is mainly because of practice of non-violence, not becoming an accomplice in killing of other beings. There is another reason for not eating certain meats, and that is that they are very young. They are very shakti. And red meat, you all know probably, red meat causes aggression. It's very young, very strong young. So cow meat, pork also. So if you're not a vegetarian, but you are in spiritual practice, it is usually recommended, instead of eating red meats, to eat chicken, like fowl, chicken, turkey, or fish. And in terms of the practice of non-violence, also, we say that cows, pigs, they are domesticized. They stand closer to the human being. So eating fish, for example, shrimps, those stand farther away from the human being, so that is a little bit more justifiable in terms of moral principles. How you handle this, that is totally individual and personal. One of the most important things I want to share is do not become a fanatic. Do not become a radical, because that leads to the opposite of what you try to achieve. People who practice things in a radical way, fanatical way, not only sports exercises, but also ideas or ideologies, they are always very tense people, the same as people who are perfectionists. Energy is blocked. And you see where radicalism leads. There is a huge conflict all over the world that is caused by radicalism. And there are also a lot of radical people in yoga, fanatics, and that just doesn't work. That also blocks energy and leads to loss of health. I have been a vegetarian for more than 20 years, consciously, but I've never been fanatic about it. So in my house, in my kitchen, I never cooked with meat. If I would go to my mom's house, which I would do every Sunday afternoon when I was in Holland, I would just as well eat a meatball if the meatball was on the table, or a pork chop, or whatever. But for the rest, I would just not... I would always, for myself, cook vegetarian food. If you would come to my house, I would serve vegetarian food. Very special occasions, I would make sometimes something with some meat or chicken or something. Very rare. In general, always bread, also sandwiches, always with cheese or some spread that doesn't contain animal products, but never in a fanatic way. You have to figure this out for yourself, everybody personally. Just keep in mind, the thing is, meat doesn't connect you with an animal. You go to the supermarket or the butcher shop, and it's just lying there, clean and clinical. You don't have to kill an animal yourself, cut its throat, bleed it, cut all the parts off and clean the meat and so on. If you would have to do that, I think most of you would become a vegetarian, just naturally. So just give it a thought. play with it in your mind. I am not vegetarian anymore, although I do pay attention. But I had some health issues a couple of years ago, not only because of being a vegetarian, but I ate very little. I had 1 meal per day, sometimes 2, just because I didn't feel like eating. And yoga can indeed lead to lack of appetite. And it is said that you have to follow what you feel. So if you're not hungry, then you don't eat. And my body started consuming itself. So since I was 20, since I remember weighing myself, I've always been 63, 64 kilo. And usually people, when they get older, with the years they gain kilos. I didn't. And then suddenly, one day, I found myself being 59 kilo. Suddenly I lost 5 kilo. My muscles were very stiff, started to hurt, headaches. Of course, I was very tiny, which was helpful with certain very difficult poses. This pose I did when I was so tiny, the pigeon pose. Yeah, but 59 kilo and all these symptoms, sore muscles, stiff. At first I didn't understand what was wrong, and when I weighed myself at home, I was 59, I threw away the scale because I thought it was broken. I threw away the scale and I bought a digital one. It was still 59 kilos. Still 59 kilo, and then I started to worry about, then I went to the international clinic in Itaewon, and I had an extensive blood test done and so on. It took a little while before I realized that I had just starved myself. I was emaciated, and I was just lacking all kinds of essential nutrients. And from that moment on, I just started having 3 proper meals again a day. And slowly but certainly, I got back to my old weight. And even better, I'm now 73 kilos. So that is 14, 15 kilo more than at that moment that I was starved. And I'm more comfortable than ever in my life. Ever. Part of that is, of course, many conflicts have been solved over the years. But one thing is, I take some vitamins and I eat a little bit of meat now and then. Usually I avoid red meats, but I take some proteins also, animal. But I take some proteins also, animal proteins now and then. I'm very comfortable, much more than ever before. And no, none of you, maybe Anya knows me from a couple of years ago. Glenn knows me from 8, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. Surely you see that I'm a lot healthier now. I've heard people say that I look much younger now than I looked 10 years ago. And I have pictures, and you put them together, you pick the one from today for 10 years ago, and while it's the opposite. I was dark and gloomy, and there were many conflicts in my life that I have solved also. One of them was my relationship. Living in Korea, of course, I didn't come here with a contract from a company, so I was on my own, and cultural shock and many things. But that's what I'm referring actually back to the challenges. I know some people come here and they bump into some trouble with their hagwon or with their landlord, and they become so frustrated that they just flee the country and never look back. I would say try to overcome those troubles, see how you can solve them in the long term, but never give up, because giving up denies you a very important opportunity to grow and to achieve your goals. Anyway, vegetarianism is something you have to consider yourself. Just deal with it in a conscious way. Bioindustry is horrible. It's worse than the things that happened in the Second World War. So it is worth considering anyway. And very clearly, if you have experimented with this, if you eat lots of vegetables, cooked or uncooked, you just feel much better. And that is worth trying. We will come back to this because this is described in Hatha Yoga Pradipika also. But I'm telling you this in respect to vegetarianism. But also, this is important because in yoga, everything depends on energy. And we do exercises to increase our power. We try to make a Formula One racing car out of a bicycle or out of a Mini Cooper. And you do that by doing all these things we do. Food is, of course, an important part of that because food is your fuel. With the exercises, you increase your power, strength, but also energy. And because of the nature of the exercises, we not only increase the energy, but we also increase the harmoniousness of that energy. Yeah, food is an important part in achieving that. So keep that in mind. About exercising, Jeff asked just before about, is it possible that if you're missing limbs, for example, or you are paralyzed, is it possible to practice yoga? So the answer is yes. Only you have a handicap, literally, because if you cannot work with the physical body, you have to skip that step. For us, that is the basic step in aligning the physical body before working on the mental body. So when you are limited in the hospital, or one way or another you just cannot move, or you're missing body parts that limit your movement one way or another, to one extent or another, it is all in the mind. The way we practice asana is to repeat the name of the exercise in silence or out loud. You repeat the name, with that connotation, with the sound of the name already. There is a vibration of what is to come. So that is kind of a planting of a seed that you do in that way. Then you visualize the pose, what it looks like, what it feels like, and you want to actually do it then. But if you have that physical limitation that you cannot materialize the pose in body, the energies that you would stimulate by doing the pose are stimulated in a mental way in this way. Only thing is you have to work harder on mental level. In Holland, my Dutch teacher of the past, he has actually worked with a paralyzed person, paraplegic, and remarkably, that person started to have twitches in the muscles, and there was some improvement. Of course, he's not walking, but there were improvements in his functioning. And maybe you recall Superman, Christopher Reeves. He has, I don't know if he did mental yoga in a mental way, but he has done something similar in trying to improve his mobility with mind control in a way. So, yes, and it is exactly because of this reason that we have this very particular approach to yoga. The only correct approach, I have to add in abundance, because that is really what it is about. This leads some advanced yogis to say, well, I don't need to do exercises anymore, I meditate. That's enough. To a certain extent, that is true. Once you have increased the capacity of the energy channels, and you have a large extent of sattvic energy, you can indeed maintain also physical health by pure energy control and mind control, meditation. However, I'm very much in favor of continuing to have a routine of exercises, physical, as well, in combination with meditation. I do that myself also, every morning. Before the class starts, I come early and I do my own advanced exercises that I can't do together with the group. Other question? There was another question, I think.
Just had a question about Shiva and Shakti
Yeah.
qualities.
Yeah.
And how that relates to sexual orientation. Sexual orientation.
Yeah.
Because you can, I know some people who are homosexuals and the person might display, more characteristic qualities in the opposite, more characteristic qualities in the opposite gender, whatever, gender attributes. So, I mean, I don't know if that makes my question clear, but how does that relate?
That is a long story. First of all, sexual orientation, you just follow your heart. What is exactly the question? About Shiva and Shakti?
Yeah.
But
I know guys
but sexual orientation is not related by Shiva and Shakti or with Shiva and Shakti, because also between a man and a woman you see Shiva and Shakti type of person, and together they make a harmony. But between a woman and a woman or a man and a man in a gay relationship, the same thing occurs. One has a Shakti domination, the other has a Shiva domination, and that is what makes the balance. Yeah, so in that sense, Shiva and Shakti or Tamas or Rajas condition is not of influence of your choice in case of sexual orientation. Sexual orientation is personal. I don't like to go into cause or because that is very personal. Do you think I'm gay? No. I have often been confronted in my life with people who thought I'm gay. Maybe it changed over the years. I know where that comes from, because I'm not the typical man. I'm relatively balanced, I dare say, in feminine and masculine aspects, and I have never oppressed my emotions like many men do. Men don't cry, boys don't cry. You know, the tough guy thing, and I can talk about women things very easily, and. I'm just me, you know. I don't try to pretend anything. I don't hold back anything. If you want to talk about dolls, you can talk about dolls with me easily. If you want to talk about cars, you can talk about that too. And I'm just me, just emotional, sensible, sensitive. I'm very sensitive, super sensitive. But I can communicate very well with gay people. I even. It's funny that you bring this up. Yeah. I'm more comfortable in a gay bar than in a straight bar. Because in the straight bar there is so much testosterone flying through the air. In a gay bar too, of course, but people leave each other alone much more than in a straight bar. I've been in a gay bar in Antwerp, Belgium, and in Amsterdam one time too. And people are so merry and so nice to each other, and of course they approach you, and then you say, oh well, you know, I like you, but I'm not gay, and then they leave you alone. They don't push, like in a straight bar. Men especially, they have this pushy way of trying to have a one-night stand, and it is so unpleasant. So, yeah. But I hope you all will come to the point that you can express yourself totally as you are, going beyond the duality of being a girl or a boy. We are all the same, you know. We have the same qualities in us. And the more balanced you are, the better your life will be. The balance between the feminine and the masculine qualities in you. And my experience is that in gay people that is often more the case than in straight people. Especially when it comes to men. But another experience is that men who feel attracted to yoga usually are exactly that. They are more balanced than the other men. Because most men, I told you this last time I think, or during the open day, most men think yoga is for pussies. It's for wimps. But usually after one yoga class they run away screaming. Because they have no idea. They think it's just a little bit la la la, a little bit of stretching, funky music on the tape recorder, and yeah. But it's the opposite. Yoga is for tough people. And so they run away screaming, they don't know. That brings us to sexuality, anyway. And maybe that was where your question came from. Brahmacharya. This is a very important subject, because sexuality, same as fear, is the strongest motivator in our life for everything that we do. And you may not be fully aware of this, but when you start thinking of it, you will come to the same conclusion. That is what keeps us, that is what sustains life in this world in the first place. Your sexual drive, hormones. On a very primitive level, that is just what keeps humankind, or any animal, any being, it's what keeps the species alive. That is the sexual drive. That is the first and foremost, the most important energy in the human being. Now, in yoga, there are swamis who vow celibacy, the same as in the church and in Buddhism. And the reason for that is that sexual energy is an enormous source of energy, so you should not spend it. But what is worse is, sexual energy is so strong and so prominent in every human being. You cannot suppress that without causing damage. And we have seen over the past couple of years what happens with people who are forced to make a vow of celibacy. Huge scandals have arisen all over the world, especially in Europe and America, of abuse. Abuse by people who were supposed to be celibate. How is this possible? Those men are holy priests or whatever they are. They are spiritual people. They are guides, teachers of the people who come to their church or temple. And then they abuse them and harm them. They are holy priests or whatever they are. They are spiritual people. They are guides, teachers of the people who come to their church or temple. And then they abuse them and harm them, and they damage children for the rest of their lives. How is that possible? They would never want to do that, would they? They just can't help it. This force of sexual energy is so strong that if you oppress it, it causes a distortion. There are a lot of people, of course, who know to handle it sensibly, constructively, but then there are some who can't, and it just goes out of hand. And in fact, you can't blame them. They are forced to take a vow of celibacy. Well, that just goes against nature. It goes against the strongest force in life. It's like trying to stop the flow of a river. It will try to find another way out. It will go, if you block a river from flowing, it will find other ways to continue its way. Maybe causing damage to the farmers' fields that lie alongside. So if you block that energy in you, sexual energy, or any other energy, but we are talking about sexual energy in this case, you just cause damage in you. So then what does Brahmacharya mean? Brahma means God, which I don't like to use, so you have to see that as the divine in people, the coherence in the universe, in human beings. Sattva, yeah? Brahmacharya. And it kind of means like the behavior that will lead you to come to Brahma. And that is sattva. Because when you are in sattva, you will be able to feel spirituality. You will be able to feel that calm and silence as a result of sattva. Then what does Brahmacharya mean? If it is not celibacy, then what does it mean? There are countries in this world where priests are allowed to marry. Bishops are allowed to marry. That is a sensible approach. For various reasons. One is, of course, this sexual issue. But people who are supposed to help families maintain harmony, they will be better prepared if they have a family themselves, so that they know what they are talking about. So what I did, I have a dog to practice. I don't have a family. Can you make a distinction between celibacy and chastity? Can you make a distinction between those two concepts? Celibacy is a total abstinence of sexuality. Chastity is a more or less sensible approach towards sexuality. Why is this important in yoga? For the loss of energy? No. We want, just like with non-violence, non-stealing and non-lying, we want to avoid a breach in the energy flow. And sexual just look at your own situation. When you have a relationship, if it is harmonious, can provide a lot of stability, harmony. But your eyes are not hidden in your pocket, so you look around and you see other nice girls or boys. Yeah? But look at what happens when you start to seriously contemplate on having a relationship, or maybe you have experienced that you were in a relationship and you gave in to the temptation to have to go astray, to have a relationship with somebody else while in a relationship. If you pay attention, it causes an enormous disruption in your life. It destroys your focus on the things that are important for you, that are essential for you. And just like with lying and stealing, it causes a disturbance in your energy that is also perceptible to other people. Many women feel when their husband has an affair. Many men, I don't know if they do, but they could, if they are a little bit sensitive, could also feel when their boyfriend or husband, when their wife or girlfriend would have a relationship. Although I think women in that sense are more sensitive. Yeah? But there is a breach of energy and there is a disruption also in your functioning as a result of that. That as a yogi, wanting to fine-tune your life, get rid of conflicts to end the misery that we are talking about in Buddhism and yoga, this is an important part of it. And I believe that humankind is not monogamous. That is an invention of the church. But monogamous relationship can lead to an enormous harmony that brings prosperity to the family and eventually to a city or a village or a city or a country. So there is a pro and a con. There is a benefit and it goes against human nature. But as a sensible human being with intellect, you choose, of course, for the sensible option. And that is harmony, because you want to prosper, but you also want your children to prosper. In Holland, there are many young people who accidentally make babies, or people who are very loose with relationships. And children grow up without both parents. There is no harmony. Those children have great difficulty in school. And when they are teenagers, there's a lot of distorted behavior to criminal behavior and use of drugs. And it's very difficult when they become adults to get themselves on the right track. I've been surrounded with such people a lot. And I was maybe even part of that in my family. Such people a lot. And I was maybe even part of that in my family. So a harmonious relationship between man and woman, which includes chastity, is an incredibly powerful basis for children to prosper and to develop. So again, we come to the same conclusion here of the importance of harmony. As a human being with intellect, you can choose to do that. As an animal, you just follow your hormones. And as a human being, at a certain point, you can choose for yourself to stop following the hormones and follow the sensible direction. And as a result, there will be many improvements in life, you will see. Yeah? So you have to see it in that light in order to create sattva. Also, sexuality and love are two different things. There is the selfish animal sex, where there is no love. There are many of those kind of relations in Korea, I know. There are a lot of women already in their middle ages who have been in a marriage for many, many years, who've never experienced love. They've never really enjoyed making love. They're only servicing their husband. That is the instinctive kind of sexuality. That doesn't elevate people's consciousness. But when a relationship is based on mutual interest, love, chemistry, having a good time with each other together, enjoying a nice meal, considering each other also, when making love, then it is very instrumental in people's further development. It is not a selfish kind of sexuality in which you only fulfill your needs, but it is a creation of it is a melting together of two souls, in fact. And technically, pure sexuality lies in Muladhara chakra, the lowest chakra. It is the strongest instinct that we have. But as human beings who have elevated our consciousness, we become romantically involved. And that is a mutual engagement, not because your parents told you to get married with that woman or with that boy. But because it starts with a connection. And that is not Muladhara chakra anymore, but there is also the next chakra involved, the water center, which elevates sexuality then to romanticism. But there is also the heart involved, because you connect with each other. There is compassion, not only passion, also compassion. And you really connect with each other. You understand this a little bit? So, surely, you have to respect what you feel. If you feel attracted to multiple people, try to investigate that. And I'm not telling you that you shouldn't have relationships with other people or with multiple people. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is only to make you aware of how this powerful energy can become constructive or destructive, hold you back in your development. And you have to play with that. It is the strongest force in your body, and the best approach to that is simply playing, honestly. Apply also here the principle of truthfulness, that you are honest with yourself and with your partner. And handle everything in an honest way. Leave ego out of it. Most conflicts in a relationship are purely based on ego and emotion. That destroys everything. I've seen that a couple of times, and it made me... I almost came to the point that I thought I'd never want to have a relationship anymore in my life. That is so disruptive every time. All this ego shit and emotional rubbish. But then, of course, you're just a human being, so you fall in love again. I even believe that I could never fall in love again after my last relationship. That was so horrible. That's why I looked so dark over the years before, and gloomy. But yes, Brahmacharya, not to be ignored, this subject, and deal with it. Most of us come from a country, from a culture where sexuality has been taboo. My mom was a very simple woman. My father I know very little about because he never communicated. But Christian background, Roman Catholic background, and everything that smells like sexuality is just, people become stiff and there's no way that you talk about these kind of things. And that is very oppressing and very, that is not healthy. What is happening now with the younger generations is totally the opposite. They have totally lost it when it comes to sexuality. I call it MTV culture. That is the other extreme. There has to be a middle way. The best way is just to simply be honest and do not oppress anything or deny anything. Especially not because this is the strongest force that we have to deal with in our lives. Many of our decisions, all day, every day, many moments of the day, are based upon this sexuality, believe it or not. Sexuality and fear are the biggest motivators, are the only motivators in everything we do. The economy is driven by marketing specialists who know this. Almost all commercials are based upon manipulation of your sexuality. And if not sexuality, then it is instilling fear in you. Banks and insurance companies will appeal to your fear. All other companies who sell products like fashion products, shoes, clothes, cars, everything else, all appealing to your sexuality. They do that in a very hidden way, so you might not be aware of it so much. But I think I mentioned it in the file. And my file is very short. Your file is much longer. Anyway, there's a book by Vance Packard, The Hidden hidden persuaders. It's old Packard, the hidden persuaders. It's an old book already, but that is about this marketing strategy of appealing to your, especially to your sexuality. Many products are shaped in a way, like shampoo bottles or things you use in the shower, in a way that appeal to sexuality. That look like a penis or look at all the soaps. All the soaps these days are white, like sperm. No? All the shampoos, all the soaps, liquid soaps, almost all look like sperm. They don't have to look like that because usually soap is translucent. They don't have to look like that, they make them like that. There's no coincidence there. All based upon the power of sexual energy as a very powerful tool to sell your product. Cars, cars, especially the sports cars with their long noses, they are called an extension of man's dick. Extension of man's penis. It's not for nothing. Ferraris, until recently, were only available in the color red. The color red is the color of your Muladhara chakra. Coming back to the color question. Muladhara chakra is the lowest chakra in your body at the tailbone. That is the chakra of sexuality, of instinctive sexuality. So red does an immediate appeal to man's testosterone, and they want to drive a Ferrari. These days you can buy them, you have various colors now. Blue I've seen, and yellow. In the past, there was only one color for Ferrari, and it was red. Marlboro is the most successful cigarette brand in the world. Red. McDonald's, the most successful, and at the same time the most terrible hamburger in the world, is red. You like McDonald's hamburger? I renew the sole of my shoe with the hamburgers from McDonald's when my shoes are worn out. How is it possible that is the biggest hamburger chain in the world? Why not Burger King, to name but one? I like Burger King. I can go there and enjoy a chicken burger or an Angus beef burger and not feel so bad about it. But in McDonald's, I just ask myself, how is this possible? People want to come in here and buy and eat this with cold French fries that if you stick them up, they... But then what is it that makes them so successful? It is their marketing strategy. First of all, the color red, very important, but they appeal to children very much with the color red, but also with their little things, the Happy Meals. Children want to be part of that family. Very exciting. And as a parent, when your child every day asks to go to McDonald's, as a sensible parent, of course, you deny that many times, but on Sunday afternoon you can't ignore it anymore. That is marketing strategy. And I have been trying to run a yoga school based upon quality, And it caused me a lot of misery. I closed my school in Itaewon. It didn't work. Then what do you have to do then? Paint my school red? Yeah. Marketing is important. And I'm lousy at it because it goes against everything we do in yoga. I started making these t-shirts. It goes against everything I feel, but actually it looks nice. Why did I start? My students suggested me to make t-shirts because that gives exposure. Okay, let's try. I have ignored it for a long time, denied it. At a certain point I thought, why not? I have to be a little bit flexible. can be fanatic and radical. So I have to put into practice also what I preach. But I don't like commercial approach, but you cannot do anything. I almost died just because things didn't go well. And just before the school closed, my students, a group of students, they helped me. They started going out to the bars and the restaurants in Itaewon, putting out flyers everywhere. Actually, just before I closed, it started to pick up considerably. I didn't had to close actually there, but for me, at that moment, it was finished. And the most painful moment was when they started breaking down the beautiful wooden floor and the walls, knocking out the walls. But when they were finished at the end of the day, I locked the door and I never looked back. There's a very complicated story. We will come back to it. I will explain that a little bit more extensively later. Anya knows a little bit. Anya was in the last period of that school in Itaewon, and Glenn was there in the beginning, and even before the school in Itaewon existed. But it has given me so many important lessons, you know. And I will explain more about this when we come to the subject of surrender. Yeah? Try to read the article in the Namaskar magazine about surrender, and you will have no idea what it is about. It's all about divinity and bullshit, and you cannot do anything. You cannot do anything constructive with it. What is written in that article, you cannot understand what surrender means and how you can apply that in your life. I will explain that to you at the hand of the example of the yoga school. That is why I'm here in Yoido now. Many nice things have happened as a result of surrender. Stop being attached to something. This is a long story from practice, out of practice, but I think it can be very helpful in your life as well. The most important is to be sensible about what you do. You will soon get a t-shirt from me and a hoodie if you don't cancel your membership. So I'm waiting a little bit, but I will give them to you for free. And I put them there on the wall. They are for sale also. And I sell them at the cost price. I don't make a penny out of it. You understand? If I put the hoodies there for 80,000 won and the t-shirts for 40,000 won, which is what you see elsewhere, the hoodies there for 80,000 won and the t-shirts for 40,000 won, which is what you see elsewhere, then there is a commercial motive. But it's purely for just to expose Magic Pond Yoga, that's all. And I will give you one for free because you registered for this course. Maybe next week or the week after. Everything that we are talking about, we have to approach in a sensible way. Not in a drastic way, fanatic way. Sometimes you have to make a compromise, but you do that very well motivated, in a very sensibly motivated way. So I compromised. I thought, well, okay, why not make t-shirts? They want to have t-shirts, and maybe it does indeed help to expose. And actually, they're nice. I like them. I'm wearing them every day. Can even clean my windows with it when they are worn out. Yes, sensible, balanced approach. People say, why don't you make them more expensive? You can make some money out of it. No, that's not important. If I can earn 10,000 won or 20,000 won from selling one hoodie and I sell one hoodie per month, where is that going? I'd rather make people happy. It's very high quality. If you put it on, you will see. It's very soft and warm, and actually 20,000 won is ridiculous, but that's what I paid for it, wholesale. So that's what you get it, and I'd rather make people happy in that way. What is important is that you focus on the essence. And for me, that is yoga. It's not about making money. It's not about selling hoodies and t-shirts. Yoga. quality. At least I hope that I'm providing you with a little bit of that. But that is my concern only. If I start to become distracted by commercial interest, you will immediately notice that. I will not be sitting here talking to you passionately anymore about all the wonderful aspects of yoga. I will shut down. I will become controlled and superficial and just purely technical. Do like this and you must do like that and like that. Then you feel that it's not real anymore. Questions about Brahmacharya, celibacy, or chastity rather? Yeah?
You talked last week about watching violent movies and how, as a sensitive adult, you can watch those without really harming yourself. I wanted to hear what you thought about pornography. Is that sort of the same type of thing?
Absolutely. Pornography for children is very shocking. Yeah, don't make a mistake about that. They're very curious, but they have no idea what is there in the reality. Pornography is very shocking for children. Personally, I'm not interested in pornography. I know that there are people who are interested in it, of course. It is one of the most important, sexuality is one of the most important things in life. But I'm not interested in pornography. Of course, I like to see a nice body. If there's a magazine, I'm reading a newspaper and there's an article about somebody who undresses. Sometimes I click and see and then I click it away again. But not pornography does not interest me, doesn't attract me. With pornography, you have to be very careful. Actually, I thank you for asking this question because I overlooked it talking about celibacy. If you have had a nice relationship, including sex, you know that it has nothing to do with pornography. And if you watch pornography, it will change your concept of what sexuality is about. And as a result, you will start having expectations in the relationship that will occur that are not realistic, based upon an image that has been created by the movie, pornographic movie. It is actually the same as with other kind of movies. Also, when it comes to violence, or if you watch a kung fu movie, there's one man who kicks and hits 20 men around. And he stands up and they all lie down, knock out. If you watch a mafia movie, then everybody is shooting and nobody falls dead. Everybody's shooting at each other, nobody falls dead. Or, ridiculous things is possible in the movie, but in real life it doesn't work like that. If you pull the trigger and, his head will be blown away, that's something totally different than what you see in a movie. The same with sexuality. The images that you have get presented through pornography can totally distort your idea of sexuality. That leads to two major implications. One is that you will not be able to have a normal and healthy sexual relationship yourself because you don't get what you expect. The second thing is that you will put demands onto your partner, unrealistic demands, to behave in a superficial way, because that's how they do in the movie. And that will put so much strain on your relationship that relationship will sooner or later collapse. So in that sense, it is a very important question actually. In that sense also, chastity is very important. And if you like pornography, enjoy it, but do it also in a sensible way. Be fully aware of the fact that that is not the reality. Just like the Kung Fu man knocking out 20 men around him, that is not reality. and the 100 mafiosi opposing each other, shooting and with machine guns even, and nobody drops dead. That is not the reality. Yeah? So use the media, whether that is pornography or just the news or news about celebrities or all these kind of things. Use that for your how do you say, pleasure, enjoyment, but be careful not to let it make your reality. And this is the sad reality of many people in the society we live in. They are not real anymore. Their behavior is superficial. They have adopted that behavior from the soap series they are watching, from the romantic. You have those series of romantic books. You have those series of romantic books or magazines. In Holland, you have the Bouquet series. Every week, another romantic story about a prince on a white horse. When I was 20, I had a girlfriend her life was totally shaped by those books. And we walked on the beach and she would sigh down. And I stood there and I thought, what the hell is she doing? Later she told me that they do that in those magazines, and then you are supposed to sit down next to me and start kissing me, and oh my God. The energy is not there. It's just a play act. The energy is not there. I didn't feel any attraction or romantic feeling, or she just sighed down and she sat there and I was standing there. What I did. Yeah, I'm a little bit stupid in that sense, but or just because I don't read those stupid Bouquet series booklets. Yes, be aware of this. We are all influenced by the media. I've been very much influenced by the media. I told you last week. And at a certain point you have to throw all that overboard and just go back to the essence of who you are. And yoga will help you with that. Because yoga will make you introspective, help you to be introspective, and you will automatically get rid of everything that is superficial. When you know that, you can do it a little bit more consciously, so that will speed up the process. And as a result, people will like you much more, you know? People will appreciate you much more for what you are. As opposed to being a play act, being superficial, people feel that intuitively. Of course, most people that surround us all, one way or another, are affected by all this. We have to use internet, books, if it is non-fiction, if it's superfiction, science fiction. If it's not non-fictional or fiction, non-fiction. Yes. Non-fiction, of course, that is just the reality, but fiction, books, many books are fiction. Use them for leisure, but do not let them constitute your reality. TV series, okay, watch them now and then, but do not be glued to that TV and be sucked up into it as if it were your world, as if it were your reality. For young people, this is very difficult, but when you are a little bit older, like all of you now are, you have to approach this very consciously and become selective. Use also pornography, use everything just for use, as a tool, as a play, as a temporary enjoyment, but do not let it form your reality, because that will destroy you. It will work destructive. It will work against you. It blocks your energy. The more you can express yourself as you really are, the more you get rid of the superficial acts that you have adopted throughout the years, the more energy you will have, the more harmony you will achieve. And that is what this is all about in the end. You will come closer and closer to the core to the essence of yourself. And that is a marvelous journey, I can tell you from experience. Good. I think you all have a wooden pair of buttocks now from sitting there and listening to me. It's time to shake them up a little bit.